As many as 500,000 people are preparing to march in Washington this weekend to fight for stricter gun control. Many of them will be high school students. The event follows a nationwide walkout last week inspired by the school shooting in Parkland, Florida. Students at about 3,000 schools protested gun violence since the deaths of 17 people at Stoneman Douglas High School last month. Survivors have mobilized the Never Again movement. Their goal is to overcome political obstacles in an effort to influence gun legislation. Among the most vocal students are seniors Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg. Both were featured last night on 60 Minutes, and they join us again at the table. Good morning. Join us for the first time at the table. We are also looking forward to meeting you both. Hello.
Morning.
Because everyone has been praising you for your poise and your intelligence and your focus on this. Have you all had a chance to really reflect and really understand what you all are doing and what it means to the country? Do you think about that, Emma?
I personally do, like a lot. I think about like, in the future, this is gonna happen. Like what we're fighting for will happen because we're fighting so strongly for it. And we expect it to happen now. And with those expectations, we're gonna vote out the people who aren't acting.
They've been calling you two superheroes. They've been calling your group superheroes. Do you feel that?
I don't think we're superheroes. I think we're what every American should be. We're people that are standing up and becoming politically active in our democracy in our own way. And I think what we saw last week with that walkout is students were walking out of school, but now they're going to walk into the polls when they're able to vote, and they're going to vote these people out of office.
Is that where it next has to go, though, Emma? Because nothing right now in response to the shooting, what's your response been about what's happened legislatively in Florida and then also at the national level?
One thing has happened in Florida, and that was positive. We got a bill signed, and that was good. That's not going to stop there, though, because it's, you know, it's just the beginning. Mm-hmm. It was barely anything. It was important, but as Jackie said in 60 Minutes, it would not have stopped what had happened at our school. We're fighting for that change.
I think what's important to realize with that law, too, is there are a lot of loopholes in it. You can be 18 and buy a gun privately still under that law. And a lot of gun purchasers are purchased that way, and it doesn't take care of the gun show loophole. It doesn't require a universal background check that has 97% support among constituents. It doesn't cover so many basic things that have widespread support on both sides of the aisle, and that's the part that I hate most about it.
You know, one thing that stood out from your interview with 60 Minutes was you called yourself the mass shooting generation. And, you know, you think about the post 9/11 generation, right? You really put into context what you as students experience. How has that impacted you, even before that deadly shooting? How has that impacted you on a day-to-day basis?
I think on a day-to-day basis, the fact that we even have to talk about having active shooter drills, it's distracting from our school life. It's distracting from us just trying to be American kids and live our own lives, because we're turning our schools into war zones. And when we add guns there, I think we're just going to make it even worse. Even after we included all this new legislation, we required training for all these teachers. We required psychological checks to make sure that they're okay, and we made sure that they were well trained and had background checks. Why not just do that for every single person?
I just want to point out, as a young woman, it always feels like you're living in a war zone. There's nothing that you can't be oblivious to walking around in the world.
No, Emma, you wrote something very moving in Harper's Bazaar. You said, "My name is Emma Gonzalez. I'm 18 years old, Cuban and bisexual. I'm so indecisive that I can't pick a favorite color. I'm allergic to 12 things, but none of this matters anymore." Were the two of you involved in student government before this happened?
No.
No?
We were science buddies.
Yeah, to be honest, we're kind of the nerds of the school. We're the last people that I would ever expect. Well, at least I am. Emma's always been an amazing person, and I think I even called her the day before the shooting.
To say what?
Just to say how, because I just finished up the documentary that I spent 2 months working on, and she played a heavy role in that. And I realized really what an amazing and dedicated person she is, and I just called her to tell her I didn't know what she was going to do next, but I knew it was going to change the world.
But how did it come about the two of you, along with others, became leaders of this movement? Did you all get together? Did you all talk about it immediately? What happened?
So here's what happened there. I got a text that, like, well, we're, you know, the day of the rally, right?
Yeah.
So David's like, these guys are gonna take us out to dinner. And I'm like, all right. So they're like, we're gonna pick up Cameron on the way. And I'm like, cool, Cameron Caskey, I know him. He was in Little Shop of Horrors. And we go pick him up, and he's not wearing pants. And he was like, give me 1 second. And that was pretty much, that's the entire relationship with Cameron right there. It's like, usually, none of us are usually wearing the right amount of clothes.
You're talking about, which rally are you talking about, Emma?
The rally where I gave the speech.
Okay.
And
but I mean, but how did it come about, though, that shortly after the shooting that the two of you really became a voice of this. That's what I'm talking about. And very early on, you had that videotape.
Yeah, I think the way that we really came about as a voice initially, even the day of the shooting, I went on the news and I did a hit with 5 million people viewing live. And then within the next couple of days, I was supposed to be on Anderson, but I was supposed to be on him again, and they didn't want me on there twice. So I called Emma. I was like, hey, do you want to go on there? And that's where she did her first live interview.
Emma, what's the most encouraging thing any politician has said to you that you?
Actually, Ted Deutsch has been pretty cool. And you know, there have been some people on Twitter who are like, you know, keep fighting out there, but they're not actually. And I know that the wheels of bureaucracy turn very slowly, but they're not actually doing anything. At least that's what it feels like. And I feel like everybody needs to try harder. Like politicians need to step up their act.
You wrote in your report, kids are acting like adults and adults are acting like kids.
Because kids had become a dirty word. Like, you're acting like children. That's offensive, is to be called a child. And in fact, we've been raised in this school environment to show what an adult should be. We're being raised and we're being pushed into the real world so quickly. We're never learned how to balance a checkbook. We learned how to balance a checkbook in 5th grade. We're expected to know all this stuff when we leave high school, just in case we don't make it to college.
I think what's important to realize here is that the one thing that the NRA is trying to push right now is they're trying to make sure that we forget about this. They expect our generation to have a short attention span, and we are not going to let that happen, because the second that we forget about this, it can and it will be you.
Which is one of the reasons why you delayed the rally, the nationwide rally, for this coming up Saturday. We've heard your voices loud and clear. What is your message to other high school students across the country who also are part of the mass shooting generation?
Get out there and vote?
Yeah, our message is make sure that you get out there and vote. Make sure that you are registered to vote so you can vote in primaries, and make sure that you stay educated for the rest of your life, because the seeds of corruption and greed are always being sowed. It's our duty as a democracy to make sure that they don't sprout.
And you're both getting death threats. Does that deter you?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Everybody gets death threats at some point in their life, I feel. Be it from a stalker.
That's how we know what we're doing matters.
Yeah.
People want to stop us.
They're
We're not gonna
attacking
let that
us
happen.
personally because they can't find fault in our message. Because from every single angle, everybody knows on a certain level that this is unacceptable, and it should never have happened. Like, for 20 years, it should never have happened.
A lot of people are listening to what you all have to say. Emma Gonzalez, David Hogg, thank you very much for coming to the table this morning. Emma and David, as you know, are among the student activists featured in the new CBS primetime documentary. It's called 39 Days. CBS News embedded with the students in the weeks after the Stoneman Douglas shooting as they turn their grief into action. The March for Our Lives in Washington will take place 39 days after the tragedy, and you can watch 39 Days Saturday night at 8 Central right here on CBS.